The snow was falling harder now, blanketing the city in white and making the evening commute treacherous. Elena Marsh hurried down the sidewalk toward the hospital where she was supposed to start her clinical rotation in 20 minutes. She was already anxious. She was always anxious, and being late would only make it worse. At 23, Elena was in her final year of nursing school, pushing through despite crippling shyness that made every patient interaction feel like climbing a mountain. She had chosen nursing because she wanted to help people, but sometimes she wondered if she'd made a mistake. The confident, outgoing nurses she saw in hospitals seemed to inhabit a different species than her quiet, hesitant self. She was mentally rehearsing what she would say when she arrived, apologizing for being late, explaining about the bus delays. When she saw him, an elderly man was slumped against a brick wall in the alley between two buildings. His face was bleeding from a gash on his forehead, and he looked confused and disoriented. Snow was accumulating on his coat and in his gray hair. People walked past without stopping, hurrying to escape the weather. Elena hesitated. She was already late. Missing her clinical shift would mean failing this rotation, having to repeat it, delaying her graduation. Everything she'd worked for was on the line, but the man was bleeding. He was alone. He needed help. She made her decision. Elena knelt in the snow beside him, heedless of her white nursing uniform getting wet and dirty. "Sir, can you hear me? My name is Elena. I'm a nursing student. I'm going to help you." The man's eyes focused on her with difficulty. "Fell," he managed. "Hit my head. Can't seem to. Things are fuzzy. That's okay. You might have a concussion. I'm going to look at your wound, and then we're going to get you help." Elena pulled off her scarf and used it to apply gentle pressure to the gash on his forehead. The bleeding was significant, but not arterial, which was a relief. "Do you know your name? Do you know what day it is?" William, something. Tuesday. "No, that's not right." Signs of confusion. Possible concussion. Elena needed to get him to a hospital. But first, she had to stabilize the bleeding and assess for other injuries. She worked methodically, checking his pupils, asking questions to assess his mental state, examining his limbs for fractures. Her shyness faded when she had a patient to focus on, replaced by the clinical training she'd worked so hard to internalize. "You're cold," she said, noting his pale lips and shivering. "How long have you been out here?" "Don't know. Walked out of ... somewhere. Meeting. Then I fell. Everything went sideways." Lena called for an ambulance, giving them the location and a concise summary of the patient's condition. Then she took off her coat and wrapped it around William's shoulders, leaving herself in just her thin uniform in the freezing weather. "You'll freeze," William protested weakly. "I'm fine. You need to stay warm until the ambulance arrives." Tated together in the snow, Elena monitoring his condition and keeping him conscious through gentle conversation. He told her fragmented pieces of his life, something about a company, about a son he was supposed to meet, about feeling tired all the time lately. The ambulance arrived within 15 minutes, which felt like hours in the cold. The paramedics took over, praising Elena's first aid and asking if she wanted to ride along. "I can't." "I have to." Elena suddenly remembered her clinical shift. She checked her phone. She was now 40 minutes late. There were 3 missed calls from her clinical supervisor and a text message that simply said, "Where are you? Do not bother coming. We will discuss this tomorrow." Her heart sank. She had made her choice, and now she would face the consequences. "Are you okay?" one of the paramedics asked. "Fine. Just please take care of him, okay?" Elena watched the ambulance drive away, then stood alone in the snowy alley, shivering in her thin uniform, her coat gone with the patient. Her clinical rotation likely failed, her graduation possibly delayed, but William was alive and on his way to help. That had to count for something. The next morning, Elena sat in the nursing department office, waiting to hear her fate. She had explained what happened to her advisor, but the woman had been non-committal, saying only that missing a clinical shift was a serious matter, regardless of the reason. The problem, Alina, is that you didn't call. You didn't notify anyone. You just didn't show up. I know. I was focused on the patient. I should have called as soon as I made the decision to stay. That was a mistake. Okay, it was. And now we have to decide what to do about it. Before the conversation could continue, there was a knock on the door. The department secretary poked her head in, looking flustered. I'm sorry to interrupt, but there's a man here asking for Alina Marsh. He says it's urgent. He's very, insistent. Lena's advisor frowned. We're in a meeting. Says he's the CEO of Heartfelt Industries. He has security people with him, and he's making quite a scene in the lobby. Lena and her advisor exchanged confused looks. Neither had any idea what was happening, but they went to the lobby to find out. A tall man in an expensive black coat stood in the center of the nursing school lobby, flanked by 2 security guards. He appeared to be in his late 30s, with dark hair and the kind of commanding presence that made people automatically pay attention. When he saw Yelena, his face transformed with relief. You're Elena Marsh, the nursing student who helped my father last night. Yes. I helped an elderly man who had fallen. Is he okay? Is something wrong? He's fine, thanks to you. The doctor said if he'd been out in that cold much longer, hypothermia would have set in, and a concussion. They needed to monitor it. You kept him conscious, kept him warm, called for help. You saved his life. Lena felt her face flush with embarrassment. I just did what anyone would do. No, you didn't. Okay? I watched the security footage from the building across the street. Dozens of people walked past my father while he was lying in that alley. You were the only one who stopped. You took off your own coat to keep him warm. You missed whatever you were supposed to be doing to stay with a stranger. The man turned to Elena's advisor. I understand there may be some academic consequences for Elena missing her shift last night. I'm here to explain the circumstances and to advocate for leniency. What she did last night demonstrates exactly the qualities you should want in a nurse: compassion that overrides self-interest, clinical competence under pressure, dedication to patient care above all else. Elena's advisor looked between Elena and this intense CEO who had apparently come to defend a student he'd never met. And you are? James Hartwell. My father is William Hartwell, the man Elena saved last night. Heartfelt Industries is the largest employer in this region. We fund several scholarship programs at this university, including nursing scholarships. But that's not why I'm here. I'm here because what Elena did matters, and it shouldn't be punished. Mr. Hartwell, I appreciate your perspective, but academic policies exist for good reasons. I understand that. But surely there's room for judgment, for considering the whole picture. Elena made a choice to prioritize a patient's life over her own schedule. That's exactly what nurses should do. Punishing her for it sends the wrong message entirely. The conversation continued, but Elena barely heard it. She was overwhelmed by the unexpected advocacy, by learning that the confused old man she'd helped was apparently someone important, by the intensity of this stranger defending her to her advisor. Eventually, a compromise was reached. Elena would make up her missed clinical hours over spring break rather than failing the rotation. Her graduation would not be delayed. The academic consequences that had loomed so large the night before dissolved under the weight of Tiwi. Our earring. Today, I just didn't see. I just know it's gonna be a really good day. I just know it's gonna be a really good day. Because I'm not decide. I'm not a man. So, each, guys, you, sax, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, s, on 1, 1, as, ad, and I can get James Hartwell's advocacy and the recognition that Alina had, in fact, done the right thing. After the meeting, James asked to speak with Alina privately. They walked to a quiet corner of the lobby. "I'm sorry if I overwhelmed you," James said. "I can be intense when something matters to me, and what you did for my father matters. You didn't have to do all this. I would have accepted whatever consequences came. That's part of why I wanted to help. People who do the right thing, even when it costs them, are rare. They shouldn't be punished for it. How is your father?" "Really? He's recovering. The concussion was significant, but they're monitoring him and he's improving. The doctors said another hour in that cold and things could have been much worse." James paused. "He keeps asking about the young woman who helped him. He wants to thank you personally when he's feeling better." "He doesn't need to thank me. I'm just glad he's okay." "You're remarkably humble for someone who saved a life." Alina felt her cheeks burn. "I didn't do anything special. I just... stopped. Anyone could have stopped. I didn't. That's the point, Alina. Dozens of people walked past my father lying injured in the snow. You were the only one who stopped. That's not nothing. That's everything." James handed her a business card. "When you graduate, if you're interested in healthcare administration or nursing leadership, Hartwell Industries has excellent programs. We fund training for nurses who want to move into management or education. No pressure, just an option if you're interested." "Thank you. That's very generous." "It's self-interested, actually. I want people with your values working in healthcare. The industry needs more people who choose patience over convenience." Alina tucked the card into her pocket, not really believing anything would come of it. She was just a shy nursing student who had helped an old man in the snow. These things didn't actually change lives the way they did in movies. But James Hartwell apparently had different ideas. Over the following weeks, he found reasons to stay in touch. First, it was arranging for Alina to visit his father in the hospital, where William tearfully thanked her and insisted she call him by his first name. Then it was invitations to healthcare symposiums Hartwell Industries sponsored, where Alina met nursing leaders and hospital administrators who spoke about the field with passion and vision. "You're cultivating me," Alina said one evening over coffee after one such event, "like I'm a promising prospect or something." James smiled slightly. "Is that a problem?" "I guess it depends on why you're doing it. Several reasons. One, you saved my father's life, and I take that seriously. Two, you have genuine potential as a nursing leader, and I'd be foolish not to recognize that. Three, I find you interesting, which is rarer than you'd think in my world." "Interesting? How?" "You're brilliant, but you don't know it. You're kind without expecting anything in return. You're shy but brave when it matters. Most people I meet are performing, constantly trying to impress me or get something from me. You just are who you are." It's refreshing. Alina didn't know how to respond to that. She wasn't used to being seen, much less appreciated for being herself. "I make you uncomfortable," James said, not accusingly. "I'm sorry. I'm not very good at... this. What is this exactly? Honestly, I'm not sure. I started out wanting to help you because you helped my father, but somewhere along the way, helping became an excuse to spend time with you. I find myself looking forward to these conversations more than anything else in my week." He paused. "I'm not being appropriate, am I? You're a student. I'm older than you. I'm in a position of influence. This is all wrong. I'm not your employee or your student. You don't have any actual power over me, but I use my influence to help you with your school situation. That creates an imbalance, James." Alina surprised herself by interrupting him. "You helped me because it was the right thing to do, not because you wanted something from me. I could tell the difference." "How?" "Because you didn't ask for anything afterward. You gave me your card and walked away. Every interaction since then, I've had the option to decline. You've never pressured me or made me feel obligated. Oh, but you feel something is off. I can see it. I feel overwhelmed. I'm a shy nursing student from a working-class family. You're a CEO who runs a massive company. I don't understand why someone like you would want to spend time with someone like me. It doesn't make sense. Makes perfect sense to me. You see people as people. You help because it's right, not because it's strategic. You haven't once asked me for money or connections or favors, despite knowing I could provide all of those things. Do you know how rare that is? Do you know how exhausting it is to never know if people are interested in me or in what I can do for them? Elena was quiet for a moment. I understand that loneliness, actually. Being invisible, being overlooked, people not seeing you clearly. It's isolating, so we're both lonely, just in different ways. Maybe. They looked at each other across the table, and something shifted in the air between them. Elena felt her shyness fading, replaced by a different kind of nervousness, the nervousness of possibility. I don't want to be your project, Elena said, finally, or your charity case, or your attempt to repay a debt. What do you want to be? I don't know yet, but I know I want to figure it out on equal footing. Not as the girl who saved your father, but as just ... me. I'd like that too. James smiled, and for the first time since they'd met, he looked uncertain rather than commanding. Can we start over? Just two people getting to know each other. I'd like that. They did start over, or tried to. Their relationship developed slowly, both of them navigating the complicated dynamics of their different worlds. Elena graduated from nursing school with honors and started working at a hospital, building her career on her own merits rather than accepting the shortcuts James's connections could have provided. If you could fast-track into management, James would say, you could be running programs within a year if you use the resources available to you. I need to earn it. I need to know I can do this job at every level before I try to lead others. That's why I love you, you know? That integrity. Most people would take the easy path. It's easy isn't the same as right. Okay. They had been dating for 6 months when James proposed. Elena said no, not because she didn't love him, but because she wasn't ready. Because she needed to establish herself professionally before making that commitment. Because she wanted to be sure the relationship was built on genuine partnership. I'll ask again when you're ready. I have time. He asked again a year later, after Elena had been promoted twice and was leading a nursing team at her hospital. This time, she said yes. At their wedding, James's father gave a toast that had everyone crying. 2 years ago, I was lying in an alley, confused and bleeding, and a young woman in a nursing uniform knelt beside me in the snow. She took off her coat to keep me warm. She missed an important obligation to stay with me. She treated me with kindness and competence when I was at my most vulnerable. I didn't know then that this young woman would become my daughter-in-law. But looking back, I think some part of me did know that she was special. She stopped when everyone else walked past. She saw a person in need and responded with her whole heart. James, you found someone who embodies everything that matters: compassion, courage, integrity. Elena, you found someone who recognizes those qualities and values them above everything else. Together, you're going to build something beautiful. I'm honored to witness it. And years later, Elena would become the chief nursing officer at one of the largest hospital systems in the country, implementing programs that emphasized compassionate care and supported nurses in prioritizing patients over bureaucracy. She never forgot what it felt like to choose a stranger's life over her own career. She made sure the nurses, under her leadership, never had to make that choice. There's always time for compassion, she would tell new nurses. Always. If the system makes you feel like you have to choose between doing right and following rules, fight to change the system. Don't let efficiency become an excuse for indifference. She kept a photo in her office from that snowy night, a blurry security camera image that James had obtained, showing a young woman in white kneeling beside an old man in an alley. It reminded her of who she was, of what mattered, of the moment that had changed everything. A shy nursing student who stopped to help a stranger. A grateful son who came looking for her. A love that grew from mutual respect and shared values. A career built on the belief that compassion should never be punished. It had all started with a choice to kneel in the snow, to miss a shift, to help someone who needed it, regardless of the cost. That choice had seemed like a sacrifice at the time, but it had turned out to be the beginning of everything good in Elena's life. Sometimes, the moments that seem most costly become the foundations of our greatest blessings. Sometimes, stopping for a stranger is the first step on a path we couldn't have imagined. And sometimes, the courage to choose compassion over convenience opens doors we didn't even know existed. If this story reminded you that doing the right thing is always worthwhile, even when it seems costly, and that the people we help sometimes help us in return in unexpected ways, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who believes in compassion over convenience, and subscribe to our channel for more stories about unexpected connections and the courage to stop when others walk past. Leave a comment below about a time when helping someone cost you something but turned out to be worth it. When someone's small act of kindness changed your life. Your stories remind us all that we never know where a moment of compassion might lead.